Welcome to the UO Today podcast, conversations that offer a glimpse into the heart of the humanities at the University of Oregon. Listen as our faculty, students, and guests introduce ideas and research that help us reflect on the past, navigate the present, and imagine possible futures. I'm Leah Middlebrook, Director of the Oregon Humanities Center. My guest today is Mérida Mehaffey, an interdisciplinary scholar based in Brooklyn, New York. She is currently a master's student at Bard Graduate Center, where she studies museum ethics, curatorial practice, and Native American material culture. Mérida graduated from the University of Oregon in 2018 with a bachelor's degree in environmental studies and history. She will return to campus on May 7th, 2026, to deliver the keynote address for the Undergraduate Research Symposium. Mérida, congratulations on the upcoming keynote, and thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you, and thank you so much for having me. I'm very happy to be talking to you today.
Tell us a little bit about your background.
I'm originally from Portland, Oregon. I attended St. Mary's Academy there before coming to U of O in 2013. And yeah, I graduated, took an incredible range of courses at the U of O, which was such a wonderful part of that experience, and decided after graduation to make the move to New York City. So that's where I've been ever since for about like the last 8 years. Um, and yeah, I think my background is made up of a kaleidoscope of experiences that all inform where I come from and how I think and my own scholarship today. But I've spent the last 2 years pursuing my master's at Bard Graduate Center, which is on the Upper West Side in New York City. And it's a sort of specialized degree that's focused around design history, but really examining design history through many interdisciplinary modes of thinking. Yeah, that's what brings me to the present moment. Yes.
Tell us a little bit more about your experience here at the University of Oregon. Who were your mentors, and what were some outstanding experiences that you had that you feel shaped perhaps how you're thinking and working today?
I entered the university. I'm trying to think. My first experiences were with Jennifer O'Neill and Kevin Hatfield, who I've remained in great contact with, and we were going back to some of our notes, our emails from that time, and actually confirmed that I was in a FIG that was focusing on archives and hidden histories of the University of Oregon. Um, and I've always had like a core interest in history, but just intuitively chose that sort of FIG. And from there, at the same time, I can't remember the name for the student kind of program, but a program that was focusing on sustainable farming systems
Mm-hmm.
um, in Eugene, and was following those unrelated but parallel interests. There's a lot of people that I feel like have impacted me during my time at U of O.
I know, and it was a long time ago too. I'm just thinking 2018 was suddenly.
I was part of the McNair Scholars Program, which left a huge impact on me. That was sort of a diverse group of scholars that met. I think it was my junior year, and talked about our research methods and our individual thesis projects, and all kind of wrestling with the decision to go on to PhDs. And so we're thinking
Mm-hmm.
about academia sort of and institutional ways of thinking. Yeah, at U of O, like my thesis advisor, I'm trying to name the top people without forgetting anyone, but my thesis
Sure, I know. That's
advisor,
always challenging.
yeah, no, it's
Mm-hmm.
my
Mm-hmm.
thesis advisor was Marcia Weisiger,
Mm-hmm.
who was sort of the person who introduced me to the methodologies that she engages in environmental history and sort of the intersection between environmental history and cultural history. I worked with Ryan Jones, focusing on sort of Pacific histories and ontologies of Pacific peoples. And
Hmm.
I mean,
Yeah.
truly, like, every single class I took had a major impact on me at that time. I think I
Hmm.
was searching through many different interests and took classes in human rights, took classes in yeah, lots of history classes, art history classes, environmental studies classes, biology classes. I mean, truly all over the place, math classes, they all really deeply informed my experience.
That would make sense. I mean, if you're working now on ethics and curatorial practice and Native American material culture, I mean, I can hear how the list of courses that you're listing off, all of them would be feeding that work.
They did, and yeah, I just had such incredible professors, and I often think about now today, like, different modes of seeing and thinking and experiencing the world. And so I always
Hmm.
think about, like, all of mine when as I'm untangling them and compiled through all these methodologies that people so generously shared with me.
Yes, I agree with you. And I think I don't think the Hidden Histories project is ongoing now, but that was such an extraordinary contribution to just what it's like to be on this campus, to be walking around and to know things about why a statue is placed where it's placed, or, just all kinds of things that we walk by every day that we don't even think about.
Absolutely. And thinking about the people who made those decisions, and that course really taught me to look very carefully at each thing and how, I mean, if with art history, it's like how the person who made that decision or made it, understanding what they were doing and what ideas they were trying to promote and what they were hoping for. And so University of Oregon is like the legacy of all those people working alongside each other. So it was very fun to get to see the archives and also learn to work in them, which was something I had never done before as an 18-year-old.
I love that. Yeah, we still have well, now it's through the OHC and the libraries, but we have the humanities archival, undergraduate archival fellowship. And so we have
Oh,
undergraduate students doing archival research. And it's always amazing what they dig out and figure out how to present to a wider public.
oh my gosh, it's amazing. It's every time I'm in archives, I mean, you have to have, I think, patience, like, to just stick with something. But I really try to go in and, like, wipe my brain of anything I might be looking for, because so many things, I mean, of course, I have things I'm looking for, but so many things, like, you would never imagine emerge from that experience and the journey.
It's
Yeah.
transformative. I completely agree with you. I was at an archive. It's exactly the same thing. I was looking for the notes that an artist had taken. And instead, I found all of her pencils and I started thinking, like, how come the green is so stubby, whereas the blue stayed long?
Yeah. And then you're like like, you're taken back in space and time to their studio and drawing and painting with them. I mean, it really, yeah. I think it kind of creates a sense of intimacy too between you and the person's archive you're working with. And sometimes for me, that's really changed the accountability and responsibility I've felt to projects, because it becomes so personal.
Oh, interesting. Tell us a little bit about your work with the Metropolitan Museum of Art's Alexis Gregory Curatorial Practice Program.
Yeah, I just wrapped on Friday my last class there. I had the opportunity to take like a full year of coursework there, which just meant last term I took the fall course, which was focusing on curator like a range of curatorial issues, and then the spring course was focused on the reinstallation of the Rockefeller Wing. It was taught this term by Joanne Pillsbury, who's like an incredible scholar. And I mean, that course has really solidified my interest in curatorial work. We were exposed to like a range of different practical and, I would say, theoretical curatorial issues throughout the program. I think most importantly, a range of voices within the institution. People from like exhibit designers to people who focused on lighting or stand mounts, curators. I mean, just a range of different people with incredibly vast expertise and got to know sort of how a huge, great, phenomenal institution like the Met is really just a collective of individuals who are brilliant and pushing it forward. And it was really a pleasure to be part of that course because not only did it push me in my thinking and ability and skill set, but also be present in that space and seeing, the diverse publics that access it like every day. Thinking with them about their experiences with the art and the stories that are in the galleries, both visually and through interpretation, written interpretation. And that was one of the most formative, I would say, experiences of my master's program. Yeah.
For listeners who aren't familiar with it, could you give us just maybe a couple sentences on the Met and then tell us also what does a curator do?
Well, the Met is located on the Upper East Side in New York City, one of the, I would say, most renowned museums in the world with like a vast collection of art from all over all parts of the globe. It's an encyclopedic museum, is what we say. I mean, it's meaning that it contains masterworks from many, many, many cultures. Because of that, has really diverse stories to tell, for lack of a better, just a really diverse array of material culture. And yeah, a curator, I mean, I'm sure everyone would have a slightly different answer to that, but in my words, I mean, I think what a curator practically does a lot of different things, including talking to publics and lots of different stakeholders, doing lots of in-depth research, leading often departments or caring for really huge collections and thinking about how to both care for them in collections, but also how to exhibit them and tell stories with these materials and about art making and also about lived experiences and about histories.
And then what is the Rockefeller Wing? What are the materials that are going back into the Rockefeller Wing?
Yeah, so that reinstallation just opened last spring, late spring. It contains sort of three different focus areas: Oceania, which distributed throughout the wing, pieces, arts of the ancient Americas, lastly, arts of Africa. So it's three different geographic focuses, many, many different cultural histories embedded in those very vast geographies, especially Oceania. I mean, it's a huge, huge geographic space. But yeah, it was reinstalled and rethought. Every part of this course was really understanding every little decision that went into that reinstallation, including the color of the walls and the stands and every material decision, as well as what to include, what not to include. Yeah, how to organize things within the gallery so that it was legible and clear, but also accessible and but also ambitious in its I guess curatorial mandate or what it was attempting to show and tell. And so I mean, it's a long-term, like permanent exhibition. And so all those decisions were also having to be made knowing that it would stay in its current form for a very long time. And it's a really amazing, amazing series of galleries to see. Each section has a slightly different entry point, and beyond that, really, really incredible artistic works, just out of this world.
What do you plan to do after graduate school?
I am currently in the throes of that,
Right, the question that
planning
makes
for that.
everybody.
It's that time that all those questions are floating. But my current plan is to apply to jobs. Right now, I just finished up my sort of master's thesis, and I'm working to finish my coursework right now. And so I've sort of begun the search, but in the next few months, I'll be attending a program at the Smithsonian called SEMA, which stands for the Summer Institute of Museum Anthropology, which has been a central focus of my degree, museum anthropology itself. And so yeah, I'll have the opportunity to be there for a month. And after that, I'm hoping to be doing curatorial work, research, and hopefully in a museum space. But while I've been here at BGC, I've also really focused on the public humanities and how
Mhm.
to disseminate research and highlight research in lots of different modes and digitally and through exhibitions, but then also through lectures and programming. And so, yeah, I'm excited. I think I'm not sure exactly like which side of that I will be working on next, but that's the plan. Yeah.
And then give us a sense of what you'll be talking about in the keynote at the Undergraduate Research Symposium without
Yeah.
any
So
spoilers. But
yeah, no, happily. I think what I'm really thinking about in my talk is my own work to try to expand upon the ways that museums include different ontologies or ways of knowing or seeing in their spaces, and thinking a lot about the positionality of institutions and artists. And so I'm thinking about that, talking a little bit about
Mhm.
that, but then also I think talking about how the art of research is ultimately just such a social one. And that was, I think, as an undergraduate, being immersed in interdisciplinary coursework, that felt very overwhelming. Like there's all these voices, and I feel like I'm in the center. I'm trying to integrate all of them. And now, as I've done more research over the course of my life and also have done a lot of research with specific people and artists in graduate school. I've just realized how deeply social that experience is, and also like how wonderful that is, like how deeply rewarding, and how ultimately our research like only gets better as we include others in it and we talk to people about our ideas and we learn from them. And yeah, I mean, that's been a really core lesson for me throughout my whole experience with research. And I continue to, every new project I do, I learn that lesson. And so, yeah, that's what I'll be speaking a bit about.
I'm delighted to hear that you're going to bring that up because it is such a disjuncture, isn't it? That we so often talk, or sort of we have this sort of stereotype of research as being like one person getting all dusty in the archives, like ruining their eyes or whatever. But I completely agree with you that it is a collaborative experience, and it is, as you said, just highly social. I mean, it's
Yeah.
us and the materials, but it's also us talking to other people who may be there, and then you run into people in the lunchroom, or yeah,
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 I think to be honest, like when I was thinking about my undergraduate self when I was thinking about this talk, and I think I thought that that's what research should be in many ways. Like
yeah,
I need to be in the archives. I
yeah,
need to be in the library by myself, or I'm not as serious. I mean,
right.
it's a totally problematic view because it's like not at all the reality, but I had that expectation, and yeah, like you said, I mean, the process when you really think about it as like a process of discovery, it takes on such a more beautiful and exciting and fun and playful shape. And yeah, I always like want to highlight that because I think it's what makes this work. And then, my work in museums has and also research has been largely around collaborative research and how
Hmm.
to do collaborative research ethically and responsibly. And I think that so there's a parallel there and just celebrating that aspect of how we can learn together. And I wanted to say the name that was on the tip of my tongue earlier was Carlos Aguirre. Do you know him?
Uh-huh. Very well. Yes, yes,
I mean,
yes,
I just
yes.
didn't want to forget him because
Sure.
I think in a lot of ways, human rights courses I took with him and thinking about memory and memory scholars and have really had a direct relationship with the work I do today.
Mhm.
So I wanted to say
Yes.
that before we wrap.
Yes. No, I'm glad that you brought him up because he's such a just a revered and figure on campus, and at the same time, someone who is just so much fun, as well as being inspiring. And yeah, yeah, that's wonderful. I'm glad you brought him into this conversation. Well, Mérida Mehaffey, congratulations on your MA thesis and good luck with the final push on the degree. And we really look forward to welcoming you on campus.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be there and yeah, it was such an honor to be invited to deliver the keynote for this symposium. So thank you so
Can't
much for the conversation.
Yes, thank you too for your time. I have been speaking with UO alum Mérida Mehaffey, a master's student at Bard Graduate Center in New York. She will return to campus on May 7th, 2026 to deliver the keynote address for the Undergraduate Research Symposium.
Our Research Notes segment helps us keep current on recent developments in University of Oregon faculty and student humanities research, such as the research Gantt Gurley has been conducting on the Jewish legend of the Golem. Gantt Gurley is an associate professor of Scandinavian in the Schnitzer School of Global Studies and Languages at the University of Oregon, where he is also a faculty fellow in the Clark Honors College and a faculty affiliate in folklore, public culture, Judaic studies, and medieval studies. Gantt, thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you, Leah. It's lovely to be here.
Tell us a little bit about your research interests.
I call myself somewhere between something a narratologist and a philologist. And I arrive somewhat like you in a category I call poetics. So I was really influenced in my early studies in the ancient world with the Avesta and the Vedas and Homer. And oral theory just was kind of the jam for me. And when I decided that I probably wanted to have a job, I decided to like move into the modern world. Lucky me. And I became fascinated with the early 19th century because there the great folklore collections are kind of documenting how orality becomes a public literature. And those are really shadowy kind of movements and boundaries. And I thought that I could do some work sort of illuminating the mechanisms by which that sort of transference happens, almost analogous to something like Homer. That's kind of where I started with my research interests. And I think right now what I'm interested in is two terms, adjacency and unevenness. And the golem, or the early golem legend, is, I think, part of that adjacency compulsion. The interesting thing about poetics, or what I mean by poetics, is I think it has a double valence in my mind. And that maps into my interest in double canonicity that I'm sure I'll bring up in a second. But one is that looking back, that Jewish writers in the early 20th and the early 19th century are still looking back into a tradition. So that means they inherit this substratum of literary and narratological ideas. Things borrowed from the Midrashic tradition, Agadic literature, and the whole matrix, sort of tropological matrix of the Hebrew Bible. And yet they're looking forward into this, I don't know, synthesization of the vernacular, of contemporary genres, contemporary tastes. And for a writer like Meir Goldschmidt, who's, I suppose if I'm anything, I'm a scholar of Meir Goldschmidt, first and foremost, the Danish Jewish writer in the middle of the 19th century, he begins to sort of crystallize what that's going to look like. And that becomes adopted by all these other writers later on, and I think really kind of shows up in Kafka's work.
Really interesting. And so then tell us more about the golem legend itself.
Yeah, so with my research partner, Don DeKel, this is a comparative project, 25 years in the making, and the last article came out in the fall, and I think I've exhausted everything I need to say about it, which is kind of an interesting thing. I don't know if you've ever achieved that.
Yes, I know just what you mean.
I'm
Yeah.
like, wow, I have nothing else to say, so it feels good. But the one thing we were interested in is that everyone's writing about these later formations of the story, and we really were interested in what it looks like coming out of orality. And specifically, the question is how the golem comes to Prague, because it's a story that's being told in the Pale of Settlements, in what's now Poland and Ukraine, and it's associated with other various rabbis, Kabbalistic rabbis, and at least since the sort of 17th and early 18th century, um, specifically around a text or a textual tradition called Sefer Yetzirah, the Book of Names.
And can you
And
just for our listeners who don't know the
yeah,
legend, could you just give us a thumbnail sketch of what
yeah,
the
yes, totally. And basically, it's a simple legend that the rabbi creates a mute man, a mute clay servant. Rabbis are busy people. They need someone to sweep the floors. They need someone to carry the water, maybe to do the shopping, do some cooking, like household sort of domestic chores. And the deal is, though, we learned this from a writer named Ludwig Frankl, that even the damned get the Sabbath off. So the rabbi one Sabbath forgets. Somehow he forgets to remove the talisman that animates the clay man. Um, and the clay man goes kind of berserk. He does some threatening things, and the rabbi has to trick him or command him in order to remove the talisman. And then he promises never to do it again. But, to this day, there is still a trunk or some kind of vestige of the golem in the arcade or the attic of the old synagogue. So the real reason is that the reason for interest in the story is that he's doing something forbidden. Because in order to animate the clay man, the golem, you have to know the name of God. And so through his erudition and his Kabbalistic kind of training, he discovers it, and that's the kind of prohibition, the line of prohibition that he crosses. So that's the story, and it moves from the Pale into Prague. And we were interested in locating when it does that, and why, and how, and what does it look like, and how come no one's ever written on this. And we began exploring, and that transaction or that transmigration happens in exactly 1834.
I'm so glad you could pinpoint it.
We can pinpoint that. But first, we had to move through a couple of different ideas. And so the first article was sort of mapping out how that movement happens and looking at two particular writers, Meyer Goldschmidt and Ludwig Frankl. And it was Goldschmidt that really drew me to the project because he tells a story about the golem being from Limburg. And I was like, oh, that must be an oral variant. I started looking, I think I looked for like 8 years. He totally made it up. And that's when I realized this story, it's not exactly oral. There's something else going on. And that led us, we had an excursion on Kafka for a while, but that led us to this 1834 text, which is by Seligman Cohn. He was a Bohemian writer, and he wrote the first Jewish picaroon novel, this picaresque novel, called The Jewish Gil Blas. And it's wild, I know. So I love the idea of a Jewish rogue or a Jewish picaroon. Um, and when the character, the Gil Blas character, is having a fight with his rabbi landlord in the old quarter, the old Jewish quarter in Prague, then there's a footnote. And in that footnote are three stories about old Prague. One is the golem, one is a ghost story, and the other is about Rabbi Lowe's death. So when the story comes to Prague, it attaches itself to the Maharal of Prague, Rabbi Judah Lowe, the wisest and most diplomatic and erudite of these rabbis. And it's in that footnote that the first mention of the Golem of Prague happens. So did he hear this story or did he compose it? I don't know. But the interesting thing is, it's not a standalone story. It belongs in this set, this anthology, this small anthology of stories, this triple kind of footnote, and all of the stories have a certain meaning when read together. And that's what the story loses as it begins to transform in the 20th century from a story about sort of a warning of rabbinical authority or political power in the hands of one man to some idea of a protector. So it's kind of initially the story looks inside the community, and later on in the century, it moves to sort of external pressures. And, maybe you get all the amazing 20th century stuff, Stan Lee and, all the superheroes, um, to what I think is also really interesting, the idea of mechanization.
Hmm. Yeah, I can imagine that would be a big topic now too. I think that's
Right?
where
Exactly.
I've been hearing about the golem. So taking a broad view,
Mm,
what makes your research on the golem important to humanity?
yeah. Um, well, I mean, several aspects of it for sure. I think one is that it's interesting to look at story as at narrative as not something stable or ossified, but rather as a diagnostic instrument or a laboratory for the possibility. Um, that I think is incredibly humanistic. Um, and that's what these stories are kind of searching out. How do we navigate, for example, emancipation in all of its uneven iterations, um, and still have a notion that the community cannot be subject to the prerogative of one man. So I think, and that's also an incredibly timely allegory, perhaps.
Uh-huh.
um, Also, essentially, these are minority tales, and this is about it. These are early kind of ghetto stories, and
Yeah.
I think that also has a lot of historical value.
Mhm.
Um, since these are legends, I feel like they're interesting recordings of communal psychology, communal trauma, and the way story and narrative does this is particularly different than historical documentation. And not that one is better than the other, but I think they illuminate different things. And so there has to be this kind of synthesis to get a fuller picture of what these communities were like. And then finally, I would say how interesting that the notion of artificial intelligence, the simulacra, the automaton, um, at least since like the 13th century, it's been a part of Jewish literature.
Yeah.
And that's really fascinating to me. And this idea of AI and also, mobilization and mechanization, um, it's how fascinating that we need to couple that technology with a particular idea of community health, um,
Mhm.
and and resist a sort of singular, centralized authority that is doing something forbidden, that is crossing a line. And that line is not necessarily religious or theological. Rather, that line is what is detrimental to the community. And
Mhm.
I think that can shed a lot of sort of sunshine
Yeah.
on some of the dark days of now.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, this is really, really interesting, and I'm completely sold.
But interesting that
Where?
the golem isn't fiendative in
Yeah.
that first iteration.
Yep.
That's what's fascinating to me. Sorry, go ahead.
Did you just use the word fiendative?
Yes.
All right, I'm crediting you with putting that into the lexicon.
I think it's a linguistic term.
Delightful. Okay, well, it's the first time I've heard it. I think it's fantastic. I'm going to walk around calling people fiendative.
I might have haplologized it. Maybe it's fiendish.
Where can our listeners learn more about these topics?
Yeah. So my research partner and I, Adan Dekel. I mean, another thing that's I think cool about the project is this is a collaborative project, and I don't think we do that enough in the humanities in general. And Adan, who also went to Cal, is a professor of classics and Jewish studies at Williams. So I think cross-disciplinary and then having this collaborative partnership is also incredibly humanistic and points to a future of humanities. But so we have 3 articles in the Jewish Quarterly Review, which is the oldest English language journal of Jewish studies in America, and really the flagship journal. And also the Katz Center for Advanced Judaic Studies at the University of Pennsylvania. We've written 2 blogs. And one is called The Golem Hunters, and the other one is called The Golem Trilogy. And all the articles in the Jewish Quarterly Review are available on Project Muse and JSTOR.
That's great. That's great. So maybe we'll follow up with you and ask if you can send us some links.
Absolutely.
I have been speaking with Gantt Gurley, Associate Professor of Scandinavian in the Schnitzer School of Global Studies and Languages at the University of Oregon. Thank you for your time, Gantt.
Thank you, Leah.
UO Today is a production of the Oregon Humanities Center at the University of Oregon. Thanks for listening.